What's good, guys? Before I get into this video, just a reminder that we have a $25,000 giveaway and you have around 48 hours left to submit an entry. Like, this is the biggest giveaway that we could have done. So go and submit an entry before it closes. First link in the description box below. You can also see the URL just right here or something, wherever it's on screen. But otherwise, let's get into this video. So just to kick things off, today we have FOMC, which means that we are potentially looking at a pretty aggressive move on Bitcoin today. And so obviously we're going to want to take advantage of that. Now I'm going to break it all down within this video. But just right before we get into it, if you're new here, welcome. My name is Xuan. I've been publicly calculating the success rate of these trade calls that I've been making here on YouTube over the last year and a half or so. And over the course of 200 plus trades, we're sitting at around a 78% win rate. But all that means for you is that if you're here, chances are you're in the right place, because I tend to be right a little bit more compared to when I'm wrong. But with that out of the way, it's time to get into the meat of this video. Now, just to kick things off on the day chart, so far we're looking at a bearish bias. So technically for today, we're supposed to be looking for a short. Now, once we go into the lower time frames, you will also see that this confirms that we should be looking for bearishness. Now, full disclosure though, this week has been a little bit rough just on Monday and Tuesday, because like if we actually take a look at the price action, we've just kind of been thrown around, like both towards like just really aggressive moves to the downside and really aggressive moves to the upside, all within the same day. So just to explain what I mean here, like on Monday, we were like Monday, literally V-shaped recovery. Like this was really hard to trade. Even though I got the overall like kind of idea correct, I wasn't able to get into a trade purely because like this is pretty hard. Same thing for yesterday. We had down, up, and then followed by another down. So overall, we're just looking at a lot of like, lack of a better word, like manipulative kind of price action. And it's only normal that sometimes when this happens, we would get stopped out. And for me yesterday, I also ended up getting stopped out. So like if you guys have been struggling so far this week, like you're not alone. I have been as well. And hopefully though, today will be a different story. So let's just break down the trade setup. So far, again, we've already been looking at a bearish status. And the moment you come down into the daily part, we will also And the moment you come down to the hourly part, you will also notice that we are looking at inverted CIP here. So far, this is kind of like low lows, low highs as well. So the overall kind of ortho on the 1 hourly has already shifted towards the bearish direction. Now, this is the level that we want to be paying attention to, which is this higher block right here. The fact that we blocked the CIC, which is this line, is that this now becomes a potential zone of resistance of price to actually drop from. Now, not only that, but we also have another quite over distance right here on the 1 hourly chart. So we've got a couple of carriers that we can deal with. Now, obviously, this does not discount the fact that there is a potential that price will just drop from this point onwards. If that happens, also give you the game plan for how to navigate this. But just so far, we are looking for a retracement back into either one of these resistance levels at a certain tiny level. And then we're going to be looking for a short towards the outside, most likely targeting this low over here and potentially even like further like towards the outside. This I cannot be certain of, but if we go into the daily chart, we can see that we do have a liquidity level over there. Now, one of the things that's going to make today a little bit harder to navigate as compared to like a regular week is the fact that if you recall from last week, is the fact that if you recall from like, right, I mentioned the fact that we are currently operating within this range right now. So once the range lows have been swept, there is a pretty decent likelihood that we're actually going to go target the range highs. This was also my projection at the start of this week. Because we had a bullish weekly bias, I was actually expecting price to go towards the upside, towards this level right here. And so far, it's not to say that this cannot still be possible. This kind of adds a kind of point of uncertainty for our short today, considering that, okay, range lows and sweat in terms of a macro perspective. So we're actually looking for price to continue going to the upside. So that's the only thing to keep in mind. So just to explain what's happening right now, we're in a situation where we can make a case that price is actually going to head towards the downside, but we can also make an argument for the fact that price is actually going to head towards the upside. Now, in a situation like this, the book is actually super simple, which is the fact that whatever we're looking at on the higher time frame right now is purely based on our NU, and also it's the higher time frame. But in terms of the videos that we're making right here, we are actually looking to trade on an intraday basis, which usually means that our trades pick a grand total of a couple of hours to both enter as well as exit. So a lot of what happens on the higher time frame here, yes, it's good to keep in mind, but it's chances are it's also not going to affect us in terms of what we're doing here on the intraday. But still, it's good to keep in mind so that we can, be prepared in case if there are any faded points throughout the trade for the day. But with that being said though, into the higher time frame, it's not that we're just going to go long right now, because like we're getting very close to a sell side liquidity right here. And also again, the hourly has already confirmed like bearish order flow and stuff like that. So even if we do go long here, you're just going to be running into a lot of resistance. Now, I'm not saying that this is absolutely impossible. I'm just saying this is a lower probability outcome, right? Chances are it's less likely to happen. So with that said though, earlier on, I mentioned that there was a specific timing that you're going to want to look for this trade. And essentially, there are two timings for today. Now, why is there two timings? Oh, that's because today we are looking at FOMC. Now, this is a news event that happens at 2 p.m. New York time. Now, if you know anything about news, is that you understand most news tends to come in the morning of New York session. So 10 a.m., as you can see right here, that's 8:30 a.m. as well. So it's not often that we get a news event happening at 2 p.m. Now, the reason why this matters is because the system that I'm using right now and the system that I've used maintain a decently high success rate on the last year and a half or so with Bitcoin is that we trade during a kill zone or during a news session. So the kill zone in the New York kill zone in this case is going to be 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. New York time. But if it's today, we also have news at 2 p.m. It means that we have another kill zone to take advantage of. So we're going to be looking for a trade either between the kind of like initial morning New York kill zone, 7 to 10, but also if that trade setup does not show itself during the New York morning session, we also know that, okay, the hour leading up to news and the hour after news is a very high probability zone. So basically from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. New York, that's where we look to execute. Me personally, I'm not going to be touching that because I'm currently in Asia and like that's going to be happening at like what, 3 a.m. my time. So I'm going to be asleep by then. So the overall idea is that we're looking for two scenarios, right? One, I've already shared with you earlier. If you retrace back into this level and you start getting towards the downside, you're going to look for this sometime during the New York morning kill zone or during news. Now, the second scenario I may want to account for is if price just continues to put in like really strong bearish momentum, in which case we're just going to be taking advantage of that throughout the day. But there's such a common misconception in the trading space where, okay, if I miss the retracement entry, right, and the price just continues going towards the downside, if you start getting into highs while it's going to the downside, it almost feels like you're late. But that couldn't be further from the truth. If anything, like some of my most successful trades that I've ever taken, just taken when prices clearly confirmed some direction of momentum, and I'm just hopping onto the train that's already moving and getting off at a later stop. So the way this is going to look like is, okay, price is very super bearish. We have a target per begin, which is down $61,300, and so we have further targets down below at around 60,000 and even 57,800. Now, assuming that price continues to put in bearish momentum, we're just going to be selling low and then buying back lower, which is kind of how shorting works. By the time you watch this video, assuming that price is already kind of heading towards the downside, then like, yeah, just take advantage of that. And especially once you get into that new kill zone, utilize the 5-minute order flow to just kind of get into new entries. Like, just to give you an example right now, this is a new bearish order block that formed on 5-minute chart. And I'm not saying this is a dang good fake, that this is how it's going to look like. You get a new 5-minute order block, and then when price goes into the order block, you basically just utilize the order block. And even if I just set the target here at 61,300, you'll see that the target is, 1.8 risk reward. Similarly, if I were to, quote unquote, get the optimal entry, let's say I get I get an entry here and I, manage to place my stop loss here and I refit all the way down here, you can see like this is inferior in terms of risk reward, right? Even though I got the much higher probability entry or like the more perfect entry, I actually make less money on this as compared to just taking a simple naked trade. So the only thing that I would ask you to be able when it comes to this method is the fact that once you get down into this level, right, by the time you watch this video, if we're already here, the thing you want to be careful of is if you get a candle close beneath this level right here, which is at 61,000 some country dollars. Now, this is a candle body right here. And if you do get a candle close on the 1 hour chart below this level, this will kind of convert another just instance of bearish order flow. Now, if you get that, then 100% we're just going to be looking for a short or just all the way towards the downside. But if you just get a quick liquidity sweep, right, kicking out this level and then without a candle close, price just kind of start. But the thing that you want to be careful of and the thing that you want to look for is that in the event that price exceeds this liquidity level and it starts showing signs that it's going to bounce towards the upside, you will be able to read this on the 5-minute chart. Then you want to be very careful because what is potentially going to happen at this stage is that price is just going for the bullish sweep followed by a move towards the outside. It's the same type of move that we've seen all throughout this week where, for example, on Monday, right, this is the range low that I kind of talked about, and this was the liquidity sweep that I talked about. Once you swept out the liquidity, boom, you go all the way back to the outside in a V-shaped recovery. And right now, we're kind of operating in a very similar situation here, where this is the 1 hourly chart. This is the range low, so this is the range high, and the desert take out the range low, while it's itself heading towards the range high. The way you'll do habits, could in, find the order. And that people, like, feel free to just follow me on X, where I'll be posting any of my trade updates. Like, if I get into a trade, I'll share my entries and my stops and everything. This is how, I am publicly documenting my, success rate when it comes to these calls. And like, yeah, some update, you can plan like sickness group or whatever. Now, if throughout this entire video, I feel like my explanation is kind of all over the place. Like, you guys will know, this doesn't usually happen. Usually, pretty straightforward, a pretty clear cut. But do get the feeling that I'm kind of all over the place. There are a few things that are kind of happening right now. One is that I can kind of make an argument where is a high time frame. This is what I'm looking for, which is towards the upside, but it's a lower time frame, 30 point towards the downside, right? So there's a bit of a mismatch. And this is one of the toughest situations for a trader to kind of navigate, because you need to kind of weigh which one's more likely. Whereas, the easiest trades and the best trades that we further trade in are just like, okay, 5 time frames press down, lower time frames 20 down, great, you can search shorts. But today, through the distance, right? In fact, this entire week so far, even though we are applying the X2, and even though I have seen, the results have just not been, favorable. And that's because we're just kind of in a range mode. And if you know anything about the system, it's that this system tends to struggle when we are in a range, right? Primarily it's meant to create a system. So it's not necessarily to say that this system sucks or whatever. It's just market conditions being not the best for this particular system that we're using. So the way that I'm going to be managing this today is you're going to look for the exact confirmations that I've talked about all throughout this video. And again, I will be posting the entries whenever I do get into them. But I will be very cautious, right? I'm going to be waiting for more confirmations than usual, because again, it just feels kind of, I can take it on with both sides to be fair. If the range low here gets swacked, we might be looking at a move back towards the upside. But even if we get a move back towards the upside, it's like we're going to be running into so much various resistance. It's not afraid of everything anyways, but everything else is kind of pointing towards the downside at the moment. And after taking essentially after taking out this rate flow, the next kind of liquidity level is going to be quite a ways down the ladder. Even if we just not look at this from the daily perspective, and as just kind of zoom lower, the next major liquidity point is going to be at $16,000. Now I'm expecting parts to draw all the way to $16,000 today. I don't know, right? FOMC, anything could happen. But this also kind of goes into conflict with what we kind of observed on the daily chart, where, okay, price is already in a range right now. We've met out the range lows. Very likely that we're going to go to the range highs. The only possible scenario that I can see right now where any of my concerns just gets invalidated is the fact that if you draw a bit from the low of the range to correct range high that we formed, so basically appeared here, once this liquidity suit gets taken out at $61,000, we'll actually tap into the discount zone of the range, which if you know anything about premium discount, you want to look to buy during a discount and you want to sell during your premium. So this is basically like a Fibonacci retracement level or whatever, and this would actually make sense. For today, I think realistically, we may see $60,000. It also adds up with this both shorter clock kit. So essentially, we're taking trade today, targeting either this low or just around $60,000, and then we head towards the upside, right? So this is going to be exactly what I'm looking for. But again, I'll share any confirmations when I do get them. And just one final note, giveaway closes is in about 48 hours. So make sure you sign up before it ends. And also just quick apologies if I feel like I've been, I managed to all over the place today. Today's secondly, for some reason, my thoughts just not flowing as cleanly today, and I just haven't been as on point. But if you're here at this point so far, I appreciate you sticking around, even through all of this kind of rambling. Planners are going to have a lot of work later to do. But otherwise, yeah, I'll see you guys later on X, and also in tomorrow's video. Stay tuned.